The rhetoric and underlying assumptions of the 1AC is set up on a problem solution model and sets up the harms as a justified attempt to justify the ban. But you must ask yourself, what reason do we really have to go over there? Why does the U.S. feel the need? There are three critical assumptions that they make in the 1AC. One, that the U.S. can determine what's best for the Russian people without fundamentally finding out whether or not each individual Russian would agree. Second, that there is some fundamental reason like a burden to make up the sins of the father on past U.S. life to justify intervention now, like the document in the past World War II that we pursued a free communist states to democracy. Also, third, the agencies that they use are to be viewed as benign, just like going into Vietnam to disperse agricultural aid and not being able to comprehend what happens when something goes wrong. That's the like three evidence that they both concede in the 1C. Talks about how once U.S. is in it belongs to the mass relay commands that send for the military political command. These assumptions are inevitably going to break down. That's the 1C. That's the 1C evidence. It specifically talks about how eventually, like putting the problem solution grid into effect in policy making will eventually collapse. It won't work all the time. That breaks down into three implications. One, you're going to have that justification to kill the same Italian, which says that like once we go over there and they don't understand what's going to go on because they don't understand the culture of the people, then something's going to go wrong. As soon as the problem solution grid, it's like something goes outside of that. How are they going to act? They don't know because they only talk about the solvency that they're for sure going to happen, but they don't know it's for sure going to happen. Also, the second is that they lose the relation to being. That's the Omen evidence. It specifically talks about how like putting people in a statistical grid and viewing them as an impact in their case is wrong, and that takes away like the whole beauty of what it is to live, to be free, to be an individual. At that point, you're going to see that our screwing our relationship to being is worse than any nuclear war, the complete annihilation of humanity, and the destruction of the earth. Zimmerman in '94. Human self-assertion combined with the eclipse of being threats, the relationship between being and human lost the relation between morning and nuclear war, the memory about the complete annihilation of humanity, the destruction of the earth is possible after nuclear war. Life might once again emerge, but it's far less likely that there will ever get a current ontological clearing to which such life can abandon since underneath one-dimensional disclosure of humanity's virtually denies humanity meaning, and all of us humanity's hope is already occurring underneath background motives toward the face of islands which exists with the aim of running material atmosphere everywhere, reducing agents of purity, the unleashing the vast quantity of humanity, nuclear war, the equivalent of humanity's slow motion, destruction of nature, unbounded destruction but equal levels, consumption of humanity, nuclear world and survivors containing clever animals would exist in a state of ontological damnation, hell on earth, masquerading as material paradise. They want to transform distinct human beings into numbers and into statistics. That's wrong. We say that justifies the plan is a bad idea. You would reject that specifically on the Omen evidence just by them viewing the people as that, regardless of anything else. Also, the third implication is they don't solve because they don't know what's going on in Russia because they don't know the Russian culture. They just assume that the Western evidence that they have in the 1AC, that the contract of power and the problem solution grid, that it is correct, and that they're going to go over there, and the people who don't want it go to their analysis on the 1AC. They say that our arguments are infinitely regressive. That's not true. We're saying that we're just critiquing this 1AC because we said that we need to just step back and look at it and say we need to reevaluate foreign policy. How is that infinitely regressive? It stops being regressive in the fact that we're destroying people's lives and justifying the genocide. Also, they say they have specific solvency. That's true, but this solvency isn't going to matter when they get over there and they don't know what to do. Also, they say that this is ludicrous, but that doesn't have any impact. Also, they say turn the car of the case. That's not true. That doesn't work on it because all we're saying is that those are incidents that could preclude the solvency. Like those are things that happen outside the problem solution grid that they haven't accounted for in the solvency evidence in the 1AC. That justifies. We're just showing that these are alternate causalities. And what might happen also performative contradiction. They said they said that like don't solve is like the performative contradiction. That's not true. Just extend across my answers on the last one. They say it assumes the Vietnam only. That's not true because Spano specifically talks about incidents in Bosnia addressed in Vietnam. He also like you can see examples every day in the news, like with Kosovo and all the stuff with the pharmaceutical company in Africa. It's happening every day. Inevitably, it's going to break down. It's going to break down today. That's why you're going to reject the imperial plan. Also, they say like what is decentering? It's specifically talking about like we need to decenter. We need to look at what's going on to realize what our foreign policy is to reevaluate. Also, they say pragmatic law is the best. All he can see is cross-examination. Is that's an option that we have to consider, and we're considering it. It doesn't look like the best point. Go to the case. The first answer is that there's no link because there are benign evidence. Benign agency. One, that's the Spano side of the evidence specifically talks about how benign is just a matter. Second, they say that they bring free for the humanists. That's not true because they're trying to justify in the 1AC that the pragmatic's always going to be good. All humans are good. It's blatantly humanistic. Also, they say they talk. Just group the three. They talk about the Rorty evidence, which is specifically talking about pragmatic. My analysis on the pragmatism is we don't know what's going to happen. So pragmatism is like walking in the dark. Eventually, you're going to walk off a cliff. That's what we're saying. Is inevitably it's going to break down. Extend across the Vietnam cut. That gives you the situation. They say the perm. Group the 4 and the 5. That's the perm. 1. Their permutation actions are the same subject of the plan. There's no reason why it's never 2 and also 2. There's nothing to permute. The name doesn't operate. Of course, the facts of the given combined with the plan needing permutations. Therefore, A intrinsic their permutation because it has something not 1 is 0, 1 is 0, or B is separate permutation because the plan is with the criticism must be left out of the plan to be successful. Both options are abused. There's inadequacy of moving target, which turns negative ground. 3, no solving. There's no reason to believe the plan would be universal to rethink the answer to the question before it's even posed. They also give no analysis on how the instrumental, like the differences in the enlightenment, would affect whatsoever on how the perm would solve better. Also, they say 6, no alternative. 1, this is a new link, begging for an alternative, false praise, the calculating problem solution framework to the critique. 2, no impact. We're negative. Providing alternatives is not our job. We merely have to negate the affirmative claims of words. Rejection is a viable alternative. So long as we win the link of the application, there's no reason to vote affirmative at that point. Presumption goes to negative. Remember, the calculating inquiry in the problem solution model is a logical order in which the affirmative has no inherency and all harms go neg. Also, they extend across the original alternative from the one in C shell. It specifically talks about just like stepping back and looking at the foreign policy will change our viewpoint. 7, they say that we're, yeah, is this the UIL wrong form? Okay. They say that we're in the wrong form. That's not true. That's excluding our voice. The pragmatism card of what he simply talks about how like excluding voices, especially that of pragmatism, is wrong. And that we're going to realize you're going to extend across the same analysis that excluding our voice would be wrong because this is the perfect form because you have to listen to me regardless of what I have to say because I have 8 minutes and I can tell you exactly what I have to say regardless of how you decide. It's just my point of view. Also, the wrong form of the UIL masking. That's not true because the critique goes way above that. The critique is on another level than UIL. UIL is right here on the podunk street level of the gap. All I'm saying is that UIL is like we're completely above it. Both Steve and Loren, we're all above the UIL level. Go on. The 8. They say that we're not intervention. That's not true. We say that eventually they will because the military political command and the technical relays will justify that. Also, they say the environmental stops the oppression. Group the 9 and the 10, group the 9 and 10. 1. Well, fine, just go. Okay, all their cards are based on science and say that the environment is going to solve them. We need to solve the environment. That's not true because they're in a position of power to give you the truth. The truth and power cannot be separated. That's what Spanos argued, and that's what you're going to realize that's going to be just coming from people who want to justify their claims to go do something. Also, on the turn, the environmental solves for colonialism. That's not true because the same argument could be made about Vietnam, that like helping with the rights justified like not going in there. Also, the 12, the turn of the pragmatism law. That's assuming the question before it even is asked. Only they assume the action. Remember, you don't want to walk around in the dark because you're eventually going to fall off a cliff or trip over something. Or step in something you really don't want to step in. Also, the 13, the human rights justified. That's the humanism, like that's specifically what we're saying, that there's some sort of universal moral standard that we have to impose on everyone. Next, the next argument is the pragmatism. Just group the next pragmatism. Just extend across my answer on post-colonialism. This is the time in which they don't have a choice because they're forcing their opinion on these people. That is colonialism, regardless of what the card said. Also, they say that they can't prove what we church. We say you specifically do it because and even if you don't, it's inevitably going to break down. Also, they say that there's no escape. That's the argument. You have to step back and look at it before you can even like make any judgment.
Okay. You say that the first implication in your overview is that we justify killing.
The kill is safe.
Okay, so your argument is that we go to the Russian Far East and we kill the Yudevi people?
No, what we're saying is like, you set up this problem solution grid, right? The 1AC, the construct of power. Like, when you say the harms are going to happen, the plan is going to solve the harms, and the solvency is going to like be for sure, right? It's going to solve. Like, plan's a good idea because it's going to solve. That's why it would be passed, right? We say that once you go outside that grid, like when something messed up happens when you go over there, like the solvency evidence talks about how like the mafia's control.
Every time the United States has messed something up, we've killed people, is what you're saying.
No, I'm saying you got to think this through before you just go in and oppose it. Why do we have to go over that? That's what I'm asking.
No, I'm still on this military stuff.
Okay, the military stuff.
Every time the United States intervened in the country, we started killing people.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying eventually, like putting
it's not definite.
What I'm saying is that putting the United States in a unique position to have the military political technical relays.
It might happen.
Yeah, I'm saying, but that might is a reason to reject.
Okay.
Like inevitably going to fall. We say look back and look for a new alternative.
In a Spinozian world, do we even have action? Like, do we have government action? Do people?
All Spanos advocates is that we think about this, like about like making definite choices. Like
think about it.
Like Why don't we go
What
over?
does that
Why
say?
don't you guys fly over to Russia, talk to these people,
We
you know,
think about it.
ask them what they feel is the best policy, and
Yeah.
if they even want us, or
And
they
we
can do
have-
it themselves. Like our evidence
We
indicates
have
that.
people in our evidence.
Well, our evidence
discussing
indicates that
how
UDEC want to do it
US
themselves. I mean, the evidence goes either way. Obviously, the evidence is going to be set up to justify what you have to say.
Yeah, so
That's our
your
whole
case-
argument.
Your case argument quotes these people.
Well, no.
Okay.
Our case argument well, yeah, it does. It does, actually. It says the UDEC people don't want
What's
to.
decentering?
Decentering is like right now we have the center, like the problem solution grid, like how we operate in the real world. I say you decenter, like you look at it from like a bigger picture. You step back. You're looking at it from like the minute details of the instant gratification of like the Western society, right? I say we just get like a more broad look.
Okay.
A better picture.
We vote negative, plan doesn't go down, right?
You vote negative, yeah. Plan doesn't go down. Plan's not a good idea.
Okay. So if we win that the harms happen, then the status quo remains.
No, I say you can't prove that the harms happened.
Okay.
Because, I mean, like, I'm saying that the evidence is obviously going either way, saying both
You don't have
things.
any evidence.
Yeah, we have the evidence that says the UDEC people take care of the logging themselves. Obviously, that's in contrast to your literature.
Right.
So I'm saying that those
are
cars...
all from from Western writers, right? I mean,
No, it says the
same
UDEC
who
people
run the
want this,
state.
just like your cars say, the UDEC people want this.
Okay. Okay. And
Fine.
oh, is that time?
Fine.
Oh. 5 seconds.
Fine.